Good day and what do you do, people? It's your boy Crispy T, as always, here with update number one of Calling of a Ravenous Bird, episode 50. That's update number one. Calling of a Ravenous Bird, episode 50. And this one pertains to what was revealed to me about the Eastern, or more specifically, even the Russian Orthodox Church. And you can see by the headline, of course, I'll be the first to say that, hold on, let's just snap a moment. I did not put a fulfillment there for a reason, because now we see that the headline is that it's very, very true. And according to the news source that I've just put there in the article, and also down below, you'll find the original prophecy of episode 50 in itself. And what you'll find, like I was going back and saying, is that there is a military sort of declaration by the Orthodox Church there in Russia, where they've pretty much stated that allies of Ukraine and Ukraine in itself, this is going to be a holy war. And what they're going to do is that the mandate thereof it is to reclaim the name in the hopes of resuscitating Mother Russia, right? And if you ever heard that frame of reference, I'm just going back to what I always knew in my childhood. And I also was very much alive during the time of the Soviet Union, which had the Ukraine and a few others. I don't know if it's Belarus as the other one, but it was a very, very large country, very large territory that you knew as Russia. And at the time, it was like when you said Russia, you meant the Soviet Union. And in those phases, you just say, well, Russia would be pretty much a determination of a specific area for the most part, but the whole of it was under the whole sovereign unit of the Soviet Union, so to speak. So that was just a brief little geography lesson from a historic point of view. But let's going back to the prophecy in itself, and why did I feel led to give you this update? And of course, I wasn't even aware, but on the 27th of March, there was a declaration, and the actual Orthodox Church in itself, and what they call themselves, they formulated a document, and it's the way I'm just reading it here verbatim, that is summarizing the most significant proposals put forward within the framework of the work of expert platforms, and during the plenary session is a program document of the World Russian People's Council as an order addressed to the legislative and executive authorities of Russia. So that's what it was all about. And of course, that is mainly what this document is really put together by the Russian Orthodox Church, in other words. So they had a brief meeting and getting together in Moscow, and they just formulated something pertaining to the to this whole military instruction. And the first thing was under the agenda, and it was first and foremost special military operation. And I will read this expert. The actual document I translated using Google Translate. It was in Russian. I know no words of Russian at all. So I'm just going to read a few things here. And it says, the special military operation is a new stage in the national liberation struggle of the Russian people against the criminal Kiev regime. And notice there, the criminal Kiev regime, meaning Kiev is the capital of Ukraine, for those that do not know. And within this criminal Kiev regime and the collective West behind it, waged on the lands of the southwestern Russia since 2014. So during the SVO, I don't know what that stands for, the Russian people with arms in hands defend their lives, freedom, statehood, civilization, religious, national, and cultural identity, as well as the right to live on their land within the borders of a single Russian state. From a spiritual and moral point of view, a special military operation is a holy war in which Russia and its people, defending the single spiritual space of Holy Russia, fulfill the mission of protecting the world from the onslaught of globalism and the victory of the West, which has fallen into Satanism. After the completion of the Northeast Military District, the entire territory of modern Ukraine should enter the zone of exclusive influence of Russia. the possibility of the existence in this territory of a Russophobic political regime hostile to Russia and its people, as well as a political regime controlled from an external center hostile to Russia, must be completely excluded. So yeah, that was a bit of a mouthful. Of course, a lot of stuff was being said there. And essentially, what it's just saying is that, and I'm just going to highlight the main things there, was the criminal Kiev regime, which is the capital of Ukraine, like I explained, and the collective West behind it. And they waged the war lands on southwestern Russia, okay, which is supposedly border between the Ukraine and Russia, and how they view that they've waged war in that region. And they, of course, have stated that it's a holy war, and the West, and in terms of this war, is an onslaught on globalism and the victory of the West, which has fallen into Satanism. Now, here's where I really wanted to defend, and where I was going with making this update, is the fact that this was not a declaration of God. They did not get this from the true living God, as in the true living God is made in the presence, the true living God denoted by the true Messiah, the Lord Jesus Christ, of course, who is the God in the flesh. So this does not come from the Most High, and this is certainly not commissioned by him, in no way. And why I stop short of saying this is a fulfillment in terms of this military direction is the fact that, of course, there's no proof at the moment that the mirror scrying, as in that they're talking to Satan through a mirror, or what they call as the window of God, as it was given to me in the original prophecy. And what I was saying there is that the chiefs there, and they call them the fathers, and remember Christ said you will have no father on earth. The fathers of the Orthodox Church there in Russia they are speaking to Satan. And if you remember the whole declaration that they were facing east, they had their backs towards the congregation. I was wondering what that was about. And there was a mirror behind the cabinet. And when I stepped into the mirror, they were telling me, no, this is God and he wants to speak to you. I'm like, what is this rubbish? So I sit there, and the next thing, there was this mist that spiritually blinded me. That literally blinded me. And meanwhile, I had my head under my blanket. Let me tell you, I was at work and I was wondering, what is this darkness with? And just to show you how real this was, when I had this whole dream, and how it was I was even acting it out in the physical and in the my waking sense. It was quite something else, I do tell you. And of course, there was this presence there. It felt very dark in itself, even before the fact that there was this cloud or this mist that came in, which was not the cloud of God, as we know in the book of Exodus, that led the people of Israel during the day, and of course it became fire during the night. So this is not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about some mist that came from like a fire-breathing dragon, so to speak, and they call Satan the dragon. And yeah, this is where it gets quite interesting, because like I was saying, that the fact that there is this military instruction, which I also stated that when I did my interpretation and everything, that I did find also upon my research that there is a church. Then I was always wondering if there's the Russian Orthodox army in that sense. So this is army. This is definitely, of course, in part fulfilling the military instruction. But of course, I'll not stop short and say, oh no, this is it, fulfilled, this is done, until we know for certain that there is the mirror scrying and it comes to the surface. But of course, I don't know when God will lead us to the reality of that discovery being made. But just remember and bear in mind the consistency of the flow that was already declared to me. And this document that I just read out, and I had read out in part, and I was just started with the first section, and the next section actually has Russian world, and how Russia is the creator and supporter and defender of the Russian world. the borders of Russia, blah, 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 blah. So I'm just going through a few things. I'm just giving you a few things. That the second subsection was about the Russia world. The third one is about foreign policy. And of course, we just lamented the fact that they highlighted those who are helping Ukraine, or they deem them as the West, are their enemy as well. And they've got the family and demographic policy. I'm not going to go too much into that. In fact, I'm not even going to get into it at all. I just figured, let me just go into the next section of migration policy, and this is concerning the influx of foreign labor that leads to the undervaluation of wages, so to speak. So they decided to put a few stipulations in that, in terms of what Russia needs to do in rectifying the imbalances, or whatever they feel like is an injustice to local workers. And they're doing a few strategic things, and there's a heavy emphasis on that, like protection of Russian families, protection of Russian civilization identity, protecting the domestic labor market, implementation of effective state control, creating conditions conducive to the mass repatriation of compatriots to Russia. So which means that there's even going to be people who are deemed as formerly Russia or former members of the Soviet Union, and they're going to be repatriated and going to become Russian, from what I think. This is just my opinion on that matter, but the way it's looking, and I'll get to why I'm saying all of this. And this, of course, there's education and upbringing, domestic low educational programs, and a few things that they're going to do in terms of ensuring that Russia sovereignty is installed and Russia pride, so to speak. And here's the section that I know of, and I know this very well because it's the realm of my studies, more so my post-studies. So spatial and urban development. And now what this means is that if you go back to the second agenda there, that was about Russia and in basically just enforcing the fact that they're just going to grow their territory. So spatial development and urban development mainly just means that you take a certain amount of land and spatial land in there, and you develop it, and spatial transformation of Russia. So meaning that it's going to be transformed in the image of Russia. So it's going to be transformed into this whole mandate. And of course, lastly, just last of all, economic development is the last one on the agenda. And this just these ed points I just briefly outlined is just pretty much summarize the document. And like I was saying, that the first and foremost is through the military, and they're going to use the military to fulfill all of this. And Russian world, that was the second one I was saying, that too. They're going to put everything into the Russian world, and Ukraine, and also the wage that they're going to have against the West is going to become Russia and Russian world. Now, good luck with that as far as them concerned, because I don't know who their allies are going to be. I imagine maybe China will be, but the main thing is that the West that they have pretty much just waged war against is going to be captured, and then going to be renamed as Russia. And we know the fact that, of course, they're saying that this is something that was a holy war, and which was the first and foremost, and the premise of it is actually coming from none other than Satan himself. And I'm just here to put that out there, that this has nothing to do with the Most High God. And this is why he had given me that revelation, for me just to reassure you guys that he's in control. I know it's the tough thing that about nations rising up against nations. We know Jesus said it himself when he said it to the disciples about the signs leading to his second coming. This is something that just must happen. And also we must understand that why would Satan call himself God, for one? Of course, we all know why he'd do that, because he wants to be the imposter. But why would he then declare himself as God and then go against himself as Satan? That's because what Jesus also said was the kingdom of Satan is a divided one. So Satan will play up his own tactics, and he doesn't care how he gets the job done. He'll lie however he wants to. There's no limit to his lies. He'll say he's coming against himself and posing as God just to fulfill a certain mandate, and playing people up against each other. That's just how he does it. And of course, this is just the part of the deception. And the main thing is this, and I was explaining the fact that there was the spiritual blindness, or this blindness that I experienced, that understand that these people who've gone into this mirror scrying, which is something that is known by even the gypsies, being that normally they call the gypsies the people out there in the Eastern Bloc who have been known. And if you know the depiction, the stereotypical depiction is that they delve into fortune telling and divination and things like that. And this is exactly the same mirror and the same tool, which is mirror scrying, is just another form of it. And of course, another form of the crystal ball will be in through mirror scrying. And we've seen it and I've actually said it in the update. It just came to me at the time. It was very, very much something that just happened spontaneously, that it was just this mirror scrying thing just came upon me. And it was that mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all, which was in the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which was something that just came to me at that time. And I just figured, oh yeah, this is what it was. So yeah, people, this is something that needs to be, it's a very, very fundamental to prove the fact that this prophecy is true, that it will have to come to the point of there needs to be this material actualization or material realization, I should say, of this whole divination tool that is being used by the Orthodox Church. And when I was saying that they were facing, they had their backs towards the congregation, it had to depict the fact that this was something that was shown in the book of Ezekiel, that they were worshipping in the east and the sun rising in the east. And that's a very indicative of the worship of the false Messiah, which I also explained in the whole thing about when the Muslims are going to start celebrating Christmas, because Christmas was known as the Festival of the Sun. It was a 10-day event, which upon when I first started my Bible studies, I was called into a 10-day fast by the Spirit, which is something that was just weird. And then at the end of it, it ended when it was supposed to be the day of Christmas. And I just realized, oh, wait a minute. God was showing me something here. And then at the time, people were making me aware. And at the time, I was starting with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And they were saying that because of the fact that we need to stay away from not celebrate Christmas because of this whole festival of the sun. And nowhere did Jesus ever say we need to celebrate his birth. For that reason, because God is always ahead of time. He always knows what's going on. Of course, that was one of the reasons why they also say that they don't celebrate birthdays, but they're quite extreme at it, the Jehovah's Witnesses. But having said of that, it is very much a pagan thing. I mean, no need to sweat it too much. And it's definitely not something that is something that is honored in Israel, Israeli culture. It's just day to day. It's not a big deal as far as birthdays. They don't make big deals of that. But yeah, essentially it was like because of the fact that this festival of the sun, and that they ended up turning it into what was the physical sun, as in what you see every day and gets you up and the source of light. But also they turned it into the festival of the Son, S-O-N, which is the Son of God, or as in the Lord Jesus Christ. So they just warped everything else, and they just always play with names. And this is why I was even pointing out to people about the whole Easter, Esther, Ishtar thing. That, Satan does the whole remix thing, because I come from the music industry, I know, but he's very capable of just taking names, warping them for his own agenda or his own wicked deeds, and that's just the nature of it. So mark my words, guys. This is definitely going to come to the fruition. Just but I'll keep my finger on the pulse. Somebody had to give me this. I was not even aware that this was happening, and I was like, "What?" And I was telling him I was given a prophecy about this, and I need to update. But here's the certain facet of it, is that the main crux of it, just to prove that it is true, is the fact that there's going to be proof to come out that they use divination and this mirror scrying as the window of God. And and if you know exactly what I also saw there was the sainting of the army. That's the other thing one should also look out for, that perhaps there's also going to be a telltale sign that the logos and the sainting thereof it is going to start appearing. So put your finger on the pulse, man. Stay locked in, and thank you to all the new subscribers who are in. I've got a few mails from people and a few things and a few comments. I'll get around to it, please. It's just been a bit of a hectic time. I might be back with another update soon, so just mark my words soon. This is concerning something else. I'll be back, and in the meantime, please, guys, put your faith in the Lord Jesus Christ, and everything else in your life will work out right. And what I mean by Christ, I'm talking about the one who actually died, rose again, and then rejoined the Father in heaven, and he's still yet to return. So that is what I need to just get out the way as far as the discerning side of it, because we're living in very, very critical times. And people, please, if you have not sought God in terms of finding out what the will is, what His will for your life is, please just ask Him. He has to tell you. It's really, literally in His Word, just to see if you're in good standing, if you're moving the right way, and where to go. So I know some people have just been faltering in their faith, but this is a moment just to say, listen, guys. We need to, when I mean guys, I'm saying the Father in heaven, and I'm just saying, listen, I need to find out what's going on. And I've been seeing people coming to God and finding out that things are actually deeper than what they actually are, and not just living for themselves. So I'll catch you guys soon, and cheers, bye-bye, later on.